Race cars can be very entertaining, but they also can be very frustrating. It's a lot like life.
All operators are busy at this time. Please hold. Thank you for calling.
Hi, I have this problem with...
Your call is very important to us.
Hello!
Please hold.
Life can also be really good to you.
Sorry to keep you holding, Mr. Pobst. We will issue that refund for you right now. Are you ready?
Like life, cars can be so good to us, but sometimes they can frustrate us to no end. As a race car driver, there's one thing that binds me up like nothing else. Too much understeer. And that's what we're talking about today on The Racing Line. Understeer is really simple. All it means is the front tires have less traction than the rear at the limits of grip, which is where you always want to be. The car won't steer enough, and so you're going to run into whatever's on the outside. It just won't turn. When there's no understeer, the car is balanced, and it's easier to carve the perfect racing line with the steering. If there's understeer, the front tires don't respond, and the car tends to plow wide. That is understeer. So why is understeer so frustrating? It's like a mother who's overprotective and keeps saying no. Ma, can I go play on Billy's bitchin' skate ramp? No. Mom, can I go skydiving, please? No. Mom, can I start chain smoking, please? Absolutely not. Now, your sweet mother has your best interests at heart. She doesn't want you to get hurt. But like understeer, this can be frustrating. On the other hand, the opposite of understeer, oversteer, is like your mother saying, sure, sweetie, do whatever the hell you want. Awesome! As a kid, that may seem great and all, but the chances of you breaking your neck increase significantly. As a driver, you're telling the car to turn, and it does, just too much. Now be a good girl and turn just a little. I want my mommy! This can end up in a spin, which can end up in a crash, which can end up in a broken neck. If you'd had an understeering mother that cared, the chances of being laid up in a neck brace would have been a lot less. So how do you correct for understeer? Understeer is not a problem of the steering wheel. It's a problem of the gas and brake. Fix it with the pedals. If the car is already understeering, turning the wheel more will not help. You can crank it to full lock. That'll only make it worse. The steering wheel obviously works great until you start to slide the fronts. And this is where you've reached the cornering limit. Understeer is the front tires screaming for more load to create more grip. Put some weight on them. Ease off the throttle. Squeeze on the brake. Smoothly, or you will create bigger problems like oversteer. On this Tire Rack Minute, we brought in one of the world's top suspension experts, Frank Vasquez of KW Suspensions, to find out why most cars understeer. Frank, I drive a lot of cars, and they tend to understeer from the manufacturer all the time.
You know, a big issue that manufacturers face when they release these products to the public is safety. They want to deliver the safest product possible to their customers, and there's a big liability concern from manufacturers that, you know, the car is easy to handle. And
so it's easier to control understeer.
From a safety standpoint, understeer is much more driver-friendly to correct, right? You just ease off, you know, let the car settle back down and you carry on your way. And a lot of times if the car understeers a bit, you may not even notice it.
That is a great point, Frank, because I'm thinking that if a driver's driving along and he starts sliding the front, like you just said, he may barely notice it. But if he starts sliding the rear, eyes get big, screams maybe, it can be frightening. It can be dangerous, you know, you risk spinning out and going out of control. What do manufacturers do to create that understeer? What kinds of adjustments? What do you see in a chassis?
You can provide a stiffer spring and shock package in the front. You know, the result of that is to You know, it overloads the tires more quickly, so the front end is more likely to break away from than the rear. You can play with the wheel and tire sizes, which are, you know, it's very common nowadays to see a car with more narrow tires in the front and a big wider tire in the rear to make the back end more stable. It's much more important in a car depending on the drive type. Front-wheel drive cars are more understeer prone by nature. A rear-wheel drive car is always going to be, you know, traditionally more tail happy. But a lot of that goes back to, you know, the setup of the car. You have a lot of different ways of fine-tuning that setup to make it behave the way that you'd like.
Yeah, it's just a lot of understeer is probably the most frustrating thing there is in a race car.
It's got to feel like you can't control the car. It's hard to drive a car fast around a racetrack when you feel like you can't steer it, right?
It makes me cuss at it. Understeer. It doesn't have to be a dirty word. It can also be your best friend. Kind of like your nagging mother can mold you into a better human being. Randy Pobst, fix your hair. Mom, I'm working here. On that note, load your fronts, driving enthusiasts, and we'll see you next time on The Racing Line. If you like watching The Racing Line, here's a teaser for the next episode, live right now on Motor Trend On Demand. Rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. How do we handle them on track, and why? That's what we're talking about today on The Racing Line. Watch the latest episode of The Racing Line right now on Motor Trend On Demand.